Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nic Cage Fight Podcast, where we're here today to wrap up Left Behind to the very best of our abilities. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan, and also Whack Nicholson is here to help guide us through the conclusion, the thrilling conclusion of the Christian Rapture movie. How are we all feeling?
I'm being raptured at this exact moment, but it's happening really slow. My feet are gone, but I think I can make it through the rest of the recording.
Thank God.
Yeah, I couldn't do this alone. I don't know what
Yep.
I would do. We had episodes that are just me and Josh, and they were terrible.
And Whack, we still holding strong? You still feeling good going through?
I'm ready to talk about the more interesting of these two films. I'm ready to wrap up.
yeah. I'm with you there. But there is still a little bit of juice left in this one, including some of what I consider the most offensive scenes in the film are still ahead of us. So we got some
this
good ones.
movie has transitioned to Where's Poochie?
So yes, where we last left off with the plot, the rapture has just occurred very unceremoniously. We don't even get a shot of like a clock or a calendar or anything, which is kind of a bummer in my opinion. But I guess they were just trying to stick with the with the biblical verse that they actually show at the end of this movie. But yeah, Chloe has just been left literally holding the clothes of her younger brother.
And backpack. It's like
And
so
backpack.
perfect. It's like she has everything in her arms
Yeah,
perfectly. Like
How
I don't
did the
even think
pants
the
not
pants
drop?
fall.
Yeah.
The pants didn't fall either.
that kid's belt was on way too tight. That's unfortunate. And as we said, everybody immediately loses their mind. There is chaos in the mall. People are going.
It's like a scene. It's like a scene from Airplane. People just start like punching old ladies in the face.
Yeah,
They're like,
I was
it's- yeah.
thinking that this is the less funny version of Airplane as I was watching it.
Yeah, it is. It is. It behaves that way. Nobody. I just think like everybody in the mall immediately starts punching each other and looting the stores, which is crazy enough. But I think if you see 20 to 50 people punching people and looting the stores, you might be of the mind like, I think it's time for me to start punching some people. But on the plane, when Jordan Sparks' character, actually all the characters with children, when they immediately start crying and screaming, I'm not a parent, but
Yeah,
you have
so-
lost sight of your child for a second or two before in your life. You know what I mean? Like immediately to just be like, aliens took my baby. Where's my baby?
I mean, I get freaking out about it because all that's left is the clothes. But
That is
yeah.
weird. That
That's
is
weird as hell.
I'll say this because I'm not a parent either. But I have the sneaking suspicion that when you become a parent, this is your biggest fear. Just all of a sudden, your baby is gone.
I'm not invalidating. I'm not invalidating that fear. What I'm saying is,
I am. I'll invalidate that fear.
if that is your biggest fear, whatever my biggest fear may be, let's say I'm standing next to a volcano that is erupting. Am I going to start punching people and screaming, or am I going to try to find the best way away from the volcano? Like they don't even try to look
if
for
they're
their
in the
kids.
way of the theoretical hang glider that popped into my mind when you gave me that hypothetical.
I just don't think, I just don't think anybody would react that way.
I think the mall scene is probably more unrealistic. I think confusion and concern would probably take precedent. But there are immediately people like rifling through pockets of these suddenly empty jeans.
You gotta loot the clothes.
They're grabbing dropped shopping bags, like very obviously, shoving people over, fighting over the stuff to loot. Like it is absolute pandemonium. Whereas on the plane, so Ray had stepped away to talk to his potential affair partner about the U2 concert. And the co-pilot got raptured, unfortunately. So
Oh, and
also
one of my favorite scenes is when he realizes why he got raptured. It's so good.
it's the dumbest thing. Hold it, because it's
I
so
will.
fucking good.
I will.
But the thing that gets me, because I don't think this is how planes work. Like, I think when you're up and you're on your flight path, there is some sort of like autopilot shit where somebody doesn't have to be actively holding the stick. But in this movie, they don't have that technology because the plane like immediately starts to dive, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And Ray has to run up front uh and get a hold of the controls, and wrestle the plane back level, I guess. So we start getting these rapid cuts between Ray's experience of the rapture and Chloe's experience of the rapture. As she makes it out of the mall, she almost gets hit by a car. Oh, I'm sorry. Right at the front of the mall, this is where this happens. She like trips and falls, and a car just plows through the front of the mall because the driver got raptured, but the passenger didn't. So there's just
Fucking dies on camera. Dies on camera. And it's like, are we just supposed to sit there and be like, fuck yeah, fuck that bitch?
I feel like the evangelical crowd is supposed to. It's a filthy sinner that never saw the light of Jesus.
That I'm glad I watched Jesus Camp first, because it does make more sense if that's been your whole life of like believing this is the thing to celebrate. I can understand that, but I think to any normie to put this movie into theaters and then be like, this bloodied corpse deserved it. You know nothing about her, but the fact that it's a corpse means you know she deserved it. So we're good.
So, like, was this the evangelical version of like? Now, stay with me here. Of like, of like snakes on a plane, where the first time you see snakes on a plane, you know what's coming and you're waiting for it. And then when the snakes come and start killing people, you're just laughing and cheering. You're like, fuck yeah, snakes, go to fucking work. Is this their moment?
Rich, I'm going to say first, yes. And second, I know where they fucked up. They could have doubled their intake from this movie if they got a band to write a song specifically about people getting raptured off a plane.
Right, but it has to. But
it would have been better if it was just called Rapture on a Plane.
Right, and the band
It would have been a
would have had to be.
substantially. It would be a substantially better movie if the entire film was just on the plane. If we didn't see the family drama, if we didn't see all the fucking people, you know, if we didn't watch the daughter attempt suicide and then decide better of it.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was something else.
The least compelling suicide scene I've literally ever seen. Like,
yeah.
she's just like very like sternly like walking to this bridge and climbing to the top of it, and then she gives her dad a call, and then he's like, hey, what's up, honey? And she's like, it's like the rapture and stuff, and he's like, I know, babe, but we're gonna get through this.
Also,
We're
why
the bad
climb
people,
to the
but we
top?
got this.
Like that shows an insane level of suicidal ideation, because most people just jump off the bridge from the footpath. She climbs a suspension bridge to the top of it.
To jump back onto the bridge, it kind of seemed like.
Yeah.
It would probably kill her. It's like 3 stories, but it's like.
Yeah, I'm sure it would, but that's absurd thinking. That's crazy.
I mean, maybe she just knows the terminal distance that you have to jump from to actually die hitting the water.
Well, we never did learn what she was studying in college. Maybe she's a physics major.
Maybe. Maybe she just watches a lot of Mythbusters.
Maybe.
No, I feel like this movie would have her be studying like
theology.
No,
because she's not religious. Yeah,
right. What is the like least? Like she'd be a liberal arts major.
Oh, I was going to say she's majoring in witchcraft. That's how they would frame it.
She wants to be a folklorist.
So
degenerate art. She has her degree in degenerate art and unchristian, and her minor in unchristian thoughts.
Ooh, or they could have gone especially dark with it and had her studying to be a psychiatrist. And they're like, oh
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so
This actually, I will say, that actually does speak to, I think, a strength of this movie. For like right-wing maniacal movies, this doesn't try to cram every grievance into the first movie. Probably because they thought there was going to be a sequel. But
Yeah.
there isn't stuff about abortion really in this. There isn't stuff about like who you should vote for. There's a lot of stuff they left out of this movie that you do see in a lot of other Christian stuff where there's no scene where the Muslim doesn't get saved, for example. Like there are certain places where they hold back here.
Yeah.
Now, low key, I do think that there is a thing about abortion in here, and it's with all the babies getting raptured. Because if all the babies didn't get raptured, that would basically say that there are evil babies in the world who deserve to die.
I've been around some babies that have bad vibes. I get that.
Yeah. So
I
think
can't
that
wait
is
to get to a particular scene because
That's their
it's going to
low-key
derail us
anti-abortion.
so bad. But I will say this in total agreement with Whack here. I do think that is one area where conservative, especially Christian conservative media, fails to grip the mainstream, is because culture war elements have become so predominant that it becomes an angry rant. It's one of the reasons why I think conservative comedy is very difficult to succeed at outside a particular niche. It's because instead of a punchline, you go on a rant about all the talking points. And it just doesn't make for a well-structured joke or story in any context because they're too much. And this is restrained at least as far as it goes regarding that.
Are you guys familiar with the book Trigger Warning by William W. Johnstone?
I am
No,
not.
not particularly.
So it's a dystopian futuristic novel where there was a civil war and now there are two countries, one called like the Democratic People's Republic of the United States, and the other place is called the United States of America. And so I just remember like this makes me think of like this opening in the book where this guy's like a badass operator or spy type, and he's taking a rich kid from one part of the country to another, but it's like dangerous to cross the border, so he's like a fixer. And
This
while he
sounds
is
like Shapiro's book, doesn't it?
it's in spirit it is similar to True Allegiance. In plot it's quite different. Trigger
Okay.
Warning is more what if Die Hard on a college campus, and and the I like at the very beginning of the book he's like in the limo taking this rich kid from one part of the country to the other, and he is like in his head lamenting the talk radio that is on the radio because the fairness doctrine is now federal law that's enforceable with jail time. So the like on-air fairness doctrine, like he's pissed off about the thing that ended in 1989, this author, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like the kind of thing that you see in conservative media all the time, is that like, first of all, in a normal Christian movie, that guy would not have stayed Muslim. In a normal Christian movie, there would have been a black president who talks very charismatically, who turns out to be the Antichrist. Like all of that would have happened in a Christian movie.
Yeah,
True
that's fair.
Allegiance, yes.
Also,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
also just one funny thing, because we keep bringing up this Muslim character. The only way you know he's a Muslim character is because one other character questions his faith, and the costume department made him look like a Muslim
Okay, so
character.
he's wearing a kufi, which is great because a kufi is not a turban. A kufi is just like a knit cap, Kufi,
Yeah.
if you need to Google it. It's not religious. It's actually just culturally Arabic. It has nothing to do with Islam. It's not a religious headpiece. Which if you're not Muslim and you don't know any Muslims, you probably don't know that. But if you know even one Muslim in your life, you're like, Yeah, anybody can wear a kufi. It's not religious. It does not indicate anything.
And that's the thing. There's like a point where the character Melvin is going through his bag, and I was waiting for them for Melvin to
For
pull
a
out a
Quran,
Quran.
yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
No.
So there's no evidence.
I really should call him the Arab dude. There is no evidence that
Yeah.
he's Muslim. He
That's
literally
fair.
could be a Christian. He could be a Christian Arab, which would be
Yeah,
fine
because he
if he was wearing
literally
a kufi.
he talks about praying to God, and he never specifies like Allah or anything of that sort.
He just
Well, yeah,
says
but
God.
then Martin Kebla is just like, which God? Your
Your
God, or my
mine?
God?
Yeah, but it's never defined in the movie. The only reason why I, at least, am referring to him as the Muslim character is because it is apparent that's what the screenwriters thought his character would read as, with no supporting evidence whatsoever. Absurd.
I gotta start getting cast in these movies. I think I could pass for Muslim in a Christian movie.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
if you wear a kufi, that's
Yeah,
fine
if
enough.
they're
That's
gonna
it.
think
That's all
I'm
you
the
gotta
I'm the most Arab guy ever. I'm from fucking Riyadh, motherfucker. You don't know shit about me.
So this I don't know enough about planes as to whether or not this is realistic or not. I don't know why they'd have a switch like this on a plane, but everybody on the plane starts freaking out too. And Ray, in order to stop this mutiny or hijacking, attempted hijacking, decreases the pressure in the cabin and has the oxygen masks fall down. And in my notes when I was first watching this, because I get my initial reaction typically, like I thought he just dropped the oxygen masks to make people think, oh shit, there's a bigger problem.
That's what I thought too. That's what
But
I thought
he
too.
actually says later, he's like, I decreased the pressure to get people back in their seats and calm them down, but I fixed it now.
Okay, quick little Google here from Honeywell Aerospace. They build planes. Aircraft pilots have access to the mode of controls of a cabin pressure control system, and if needed, can command the cabin to depressurize.
So, an
New fear,
airline
new
pilot,
fear unlocked.
so an airline pilot could just kill me.
Well,
Okay,
the
hold
cabin
up. I gotta write this movie.
depressurizes. It would take you a while to die because it would take like 20 minutes or so. But I guess if he depressurized the cabin and you would have to not be at your seat and not put on the oxygen mask within like 20 minutes because it's like the movie, any movie about the maniacal pilot that traps everybody in the sky would have to include like they call it a paper lantern in writing. Like you would have to be like, oh, he hacked the oxygen mask system to not work, or like it would have to be something like that because actually that happened in a movie. Fuck. What was the movie? Jodie Foster airplane movie. Flight Plan from 2005.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I don't have
She
to write
gets
that
her-
movie anymore.
She gets her baby kidnapped while she's on board, and then it turns out that the pilot was like part of this like international kidnapping ring that depressurized the thing in order to kidnap her baby for ransom.
So
and,
it's
like...
the plot that lady thinks happened, basically.
Yes. Yeah. That
seems-
movie's sick too. And I will say, like, of the and is Sean Bean on that? Yeah, Sean Bean's in that.
Oh shit! All right.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
I might have to watch that.
Yeah, Flight Plan's pretty cool. But my issue with Left Behind is that like Flight Plan, Snakes on a Plane, Flight, a lot of these movies like they do such a good job at being like, this is this guy, this is his backstory, this is what's going on. But instead, the movie uses its first 30 minutes to be like, dad is considering cheating on mom. That's like the
It's the moral crux they choose to focus on.
it's very strange because it's like the most interesting stuff that happens in the movie is on the plane. So why are we watching like this woman like I said, the stunt where she jumps out of the way of the plane in the mall parking lot, that was sick. That was cool as hell. But it's also like, why are we watching her just run around, go to different hospitals, ask people if they've seen her brother? Not really. She's not even watching the news. She's just kind of like, hey, where anybody seen my brother? Last seen within my arms, and he disappeared. Did you guys
Yeah.
notice?
Because
Yeah,
it's a morality play, not a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the reactions don't sync up with any sort of logic. But I will say this. I am glad they left the scenes on the ground in, because we get amazing moments like we're getting right now when we cut from the plane that just got depressurized on purpose to Chloe trying to get out of the mall, and she goes through the parking lot to get to her car, and a Cessna plane, like the pilot gets raptured, and this is where we get the amazing stunt scene. She
Hey,
jumps
that
over her own car
ties it back
through.
to Stephen King. It's a Cessna and Night Flyer.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. And we're back. But my favorite part, I did like the good stunt, but one of my favorite parts is everybody is still freaking out, right? And one of the ways they demonstrate this is there's a huge traffic jam trying to get out of the mall. And one of the people freaking out is a dude in a truck that is just ramming into a hatchback, which cuts to the driver, who is a woman who's just screaming, "Stop!"
But she's screaming stop, but her face is saying, "Why is my drive-through order late?" She's just like,
The whole scene is so insane. We have to drop the reference here because we didn't do it in the first episode. It's like an "I think you should leave" skit. The guy in the truck in the back is like, "This is the maddest I've ever been." Just lays on the gas. He's not pushing the car anywhere. They're like piled up 5 cars deep. He's just ramming into the back of this lady for no discernible reason. Ah. So that was a good scene. That's why I like I like the on the ground view. Um then we do cut back to the plane where Ray is trying to get somebody on the radio, which this part bothered me a bit because like it looks like 95% of air traffic controllers got raptured.
I mean, it's a holy profession.
He can't get anybody on the radio for like a huge portion of the runtime of the film. This is the first attempt, but this goes on until like the last 15 minutes. Because nobody answers him.
How many people do you think got raptured?
Didn't
I'm
they
sure
give
there's
a
a
number?
biblical number associated
Yeah.
with it, but
Yeah,
well,
but like
the biblical number is 144,000.
that is based on old-timey population levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's 144,000 is the 144,000 is the number, but they say millions. So again, this film is not biblical. Like it is a Christian movie. It has a Christian message of like pro-Christian politics, but it's not biblical. Which maybe the original Left Behind series is, but
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the guy that had the idea, man, not the actual writer, was on like a Jack Chick level of non-biblical.
well, since we're getting to the end of the movie and we're going to shift into Jesus Camp, I'll call out the best character in Jesus Camp was that radio preacher who was a lib, who is
Yeah,
just like
hardcore.
a normal,
Yeah.
is a normal guy.
The guy that gets complained about in almost every fundamentalist Christian review of that movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he like his voice is kind of like exists in this movie to a certain degree, where like there's that one call where the guy's like, "I'm a Bible believing Christian and I don't see the Bible being followed, and I think it's to our detriment." And that guy's like, "That's exactly right." But every time he talks to like one of these fundamentalist psychos, he's like, I appreciate your love of God, brother, but I'm not seeing the like I kept thinking of that guy like throughout this, because it's like this just is not biblical. This is like it true or false, good or bad, politically woke or unwoke. Any of those questions can be answered, but it is unequivocally unbiblical. This story. This has nothing to do with the Bible.
So I do think this is incredibly relevant to Left Behind, even in a vacuum, without discussing Jesus Camp, because I do think a lot of elements of the evangelical message are, at their heart, unbiblical. It's a cherry picking of religion to support a current modern political movement. And that is how a lot of their framing of the Bible and biblical passages are framed. Um, that's the perspective they're coming at it with. So glossing over certain stuff or adjusting it or ignoring certain elements is key to their relationship with the Bible, largely.
True,
So
but I would also say like the kids, if you compare this movie to the kids in Jesus Camp, the question being who understands the Bible better, this film or the kids in Jesus Camp? It is surely the children. I mean, they get it a lot better. Like I'm not, I was raised Catholic and stuff, but like I I don't have like a dog in the fight. And just like seeing this, it's just like this isn't this isn't anything, dude. This is just like you guys. This is it's the John Birch Society. It's just like that is what this is. This has nothing to do with like real fucking biblical understandings or like any theology that doesn't have to do with like hate and mania, basically.
well, yeah, their obsession with the end times, I think, is particularly telling. Like when you watch or look into things like Westboro Baptist, right? A truly vitriolic message that they're pushing. They're just cherry picking elements of the Bible without any real concern with actual interpretations, academic interpretations, historic interpretations. It's about in-group, out-group dynamics, which I think is the primary driving force behind it. I mean, why else would you focus on the conclusion of things? That's why I said in episode 1, it's the I told you so. I told you so is the fundamental point of the message in the media, in my opinion. It's the ultimate I told you so. Not only did I tell you so, but I'm right for eternity and you're wrong for eternity. It's the trump card of I knew better than you. I picked right.
Nanny nanny boo boo.
Yeah, which is in my opinion kind of childish, just sort of in general, especially when you look at all of the other messages in the Bible. It's not really compatible, I think, a lot of the messaging with our current situation, and really everybody's really predisposed with square peg round holing it. You know what I mean? So,
It's a difficult thing because it's like, I mean, this movie's a failure.
Genuinely. On a lot of
that's
levels.
a given.
Yeah.
It's really hard because I'm a lover of Nicolas Cage, and just this one just isn't it. You know what I mean?
Nah.
It's like it doesn't exist on its own terms. It doesn't succeed on its own terms, and in trying to succeed in a sort of mainstream way that this movie's clearly doing, it's like it is too Christian to be good, and it is too mainstream to be interesting.
Yeah, honestly, they probably would have done better, at least as far as a cult following, if they went full schlocky with it.
Yeah.
If they
To a
had
certain
remade,
degree.
if they had remade the first one, and had the Antichrist born and rapidly aging in his evil lair where he's controlled. If it wasn't the family drama and it was the Antichrist taking over the UN, this would be a 10 out of 10 banger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Cage
this
of
might
the
be like
sequel.
a monthly view for me if we had some Antichrist shit.
They
No,
played
I
it
think
too
they wanted
safe.
to tease the Antichrist for the second one, but it's also like
Do they even lay any seeds for that? Because like I don't remember.
they don't,
them.
but they were like, I think they wanted to be like, it's coming next, dragons and zombies and the Antichrist, and it's like, well, none of that was in this movie, so how do?
It's funny. It failed in the same way Jupiter's Legacy failed on Netflix, which we've talked about it before on the podcast. But Jupiter's Legacy was like a comic series, a pretty decent one. I enjoyed it personally.
I like
And
the art. I
Netflix,
don't like the writing.
that's fair, perfectly fair. but it got optioned for a Netflix show, but they drew out too much of the first portion of the series because they wanted to lock in for the second season, where there was an obvious, beautiful cliffhanger that they could have ended on that would have guaranteed that they got picked up, and they didn't do it. So it's another example of where you play it too safe, thinking you got it in the bag, and you fail. You fail to make it to the second round. But also, I don't think they could have afforded Cage in the sequel. So who knows? Like, I think a lot of factors were going against them on this one.
I mean, I gotta know how much they paid that man, so give me a second.
Oh yeah, you start checking into that, because at this point in the film, Ray goes back to try and calm down the people from whatchamacallit, business class, non-first class passengers. Which, by the way, it just occurred to me as we're dissecting this that the people outside of first class are the ones who are like, storm the fucking cockpit, take over the plane. They kind of show them as rabble, to a certain extent.
Yeah, because we never know them as characters. We
No, we
only
don't.
know the first class people. They don't matter.
Yeah, they don't rate.
They're the villagers.
I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to disparage the good people that made this film, but I'm worried that evangelical Christians have bad politics. I think they have a
No.
dim view.
No. Listen, we
Republic.
cannot cast that wide net.
You're so
I'm
right,
sure-
man. I'm so sorry. I'm so
sure
sorry.
that some are very, very nice people.
Some I
who-
assume are good people.
some I assume are good people that voted for Ronald Reagan because they thought that he would stop AIDS or something.
Because they love chimps. They were big fans of monkeys, and they saw him, and they were like, he did it for the Gipper, that guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I gotta vote for him.
Look, just because there's a first class doesn't mean you're second class in our eyes. But anyway, so Ray goes back to talk to them, and we get a brief interaction with a mother of a small child in the regular seating, who's like, my kid's missing. She's freaking out, and Ray's like, look, we're gonna find out what happened. Everybody needs to stay calm. The biggest enemy right now is panic, which is fair. It's a solid statement. It's a rational reaction, and good advice from a character in the movie. And this might be the only example of that in the entirety of the film. At this point, we cut back to Chloe, which, again, they're really playing up that society immediately breaks down after the rapture, because Chloe's
Well,
just
it's godless. It's godless at this point.
But by definition.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Chloe's walking with Raimi's backpack, and two guys on a motorcycle just like swing by and grab the backpack off of her and knock her down. It's a kid. It's obviously a kid's backpack. There's nothing of value in it.
Well, and then the jewelry store robbery scene that happens like next. It's like
yes,
it's just like fucking this like the internet stopped working today. You know what I mean? This happened today. I'm sorry to date the episode, but the internet stopped working for basically everyone for a couple hours today, and nobody fucking like shotgunned several jewelry store owners. Like it's a very dim view of humanity, which is kind of like, I don't know, it's like Mr. Rogers talking about find the helpers in any disaster.
Mhm.
You can say it's like cheesy or whatever, but it's also like watch like the cameras that were mounted on fire trucks on the day of 9/11. And it's like people were not punching each other in the faces and shooting at each other. They thought the world was ending in Manhattan on 9/11. And what did they tried to help each other. It's like, this just doesn't happen. This is an absurd display. And
people got really racist though. Like they were helping each
in
other.
the
That was
immediate
after,
aftermath.
yeah.
No,
In the
afterward. But during the disaster, that doesn't happen. It's like if you watch like Katrina shit, like don't listen to the right-wing psychos who are like, black people stole everything. Like, actually watch the videos of people in like Katrina where they were like going into stores to grab like oatmeal, like cinnamon oatmeal, because their neighbor loves oatmeal and she's old or whatever. It's like this. This is just not what happens in these situations. If it was global, it would be even less insane than they show here.
It's funny because there's a piece of media that you can explicitly compare it to another piece of fiction. It's the Ozymandias argument, which when faced with an external threat of some sort, humanity is more likely to come together than to break apart in a way that is this chaotic.
And
All
in
they need
order
is a
to
big
write
squid
that
monster.
story,
I was about to say,
in
this
order
movie
to
would have been
write that
so much
story,
better with
though,
a big squid.
it would have been. In order to write that story, though, Alan Moore had to make that character the smartest man alive.
Yeah.
Figure out the thing that happens every time a disaster happens. You're like, oh, he can predict what happens when a disaster happens. It's like, yeah.
So
in order to make Ozymandias believable, he needed to have an IQ of like 250.
And have a totally cool big cat.
That cat was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
He invented
was
it.
cool.
It was his own invention. He
Yeah,
genetically spliced it himself.
What was it? Hephaestus was the name
Yes,
of the cat?
Hephaestus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's cover real quick one of the racist elements of this film, the scene we've talked about several times already.
By the way, just because we've been talking about it so much, none of the characters at this point know that it's the Rapture.
Yes, that's important.
Yeah, because we have been talking about the Rapture so much. None of the characters know what is happening. We get that a little bit later on in the dumbest scene possible.
Oh, and I found a half-assed answer to how much Cage was probably paid for this. Based on his average pay for like his mostly tax trouble movies, which I think this lands right in the middle of, more than likely $2 million.
That's a solid chunk of their budget right there.
Yeah, it is. It's like a tenth of their budget.
So for the scene with the jewelry store shooting that we alluded to, so after a brief confrontation between Melvin and the assumedly Muslim first class passenger who suggests they pray, and then there's a whole argument about whose God they're praying to. During a distraction, Melvin starts going through this passenger's carry-on bag. The man catches him and is like, what are you expecting to find? And he reaches into the bag and he pulls his hand out quickly, and we cut back to Chloe on the street as a man is shotgun blasted out of the front of a store. And a long-haired man with a shotgun comes out and points the shotgun at her.
There's a gun in play on the plane.
Yeah.
So like, it's not out of the question that
that juxtaposition of images I think is probably intentional.
I mean, sure, but it's really bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah.
And then we cut back. Also, by the way, this is just an insane action to assume a person would take under these circumstances. Anyway, the Muslim man has pulled out, again, assumedly, because they do nothing to reinforce this, has pulled out an electric toothbrush and asks Melvin again, like, what the fuck did you expect to find here? Although all of the framing around the scene is leading you to believe he's pulling a gun and shooting the character. But as entertaining as that bit is, I do have to talk about a recurring theme in Christian media that I personally love very much. And it's that Christians and conservatives in general don't understand drugs. So we get a glimpse
I forgot about this lady.
Of another first-class character, a blonde lady who's got sunglasses on. She seems half comatose for most of this. During all of the chaos, she goes to the bathroom by herself and opens up a lipstick tube and takes out a baggie of white powder, and then looks at herself in the mirror and goes, "This trip can't last forever." And like, so the baggie,
it's just a bad trip. You've had a bad trip before.
Yeah.
That's powdered LSD that she's hitting rails.
So at first I was like, cocaine? Conservatives don't understand drugs. But later It's revealed she has track marks, so it's supposedly heroin, which reinforces conservatives don't understand drugs.
Yeah.
The real thing, like
It would
a
have been better if
better.
she had a gallon of PCP.
I mean, it would have been so much better. It would have been so much better. This is good. This is like easy dubs too. Don't make the powder white, make it brownish so it looks more like heroin. And then when she's like, you're just having a bad time instead of a bad trip. You don't even have to like, you've had a bad time before. Just, take a little more. She does a bump. She passes out on the toilet. And then later in the scene where they all need to pray together, somebody opens the bathroom and like wakes her up to pray with her. That's better filmmaking. And it makes more sense because this doesn't make any sense. I thought she was doing cocaine to be less paranoid. And I'm like, girlfriend, you need to not do that right now.
Yeah, just again, a complete fundamental misunderstanding of drugs from conservative media. It's always funny when it rears its head. So I had to reference that. So we do learn at this point that Ray is turning around the plane to go back to New York, even though they're halfway there. I feel like it's kind of a wash, but they need to end in New York. And so again, he's radioing this in to nobody responding. But the plane has turned around.
So
And
all air traffic controllers in London as well as New York, every air traffic controller was raptured. Is that what we're meant to understand?
like 90+%. He finally eventually gets through to somebody, but it's one dude. It's like one
I
dude in
actually,
JFK.
having watched this film and not being a Christian, I'm pretty sure I'd be raptured. Like, it's just so many people. There aren't that many
mathematically.
there aren't that many like there aren't that many like there are a lot of people who say they believe in Jesus, but there aren't a lot of people who are like evangelical Bible believing, Bible reading Christians as there are in this movie. And so it's kind of hard to credit this as a very scary scenario because I'm pretty sure I'd get taken up. I think I'd be fine.
Yeah, mathematically, they're really exaggerating the spread of their particular brand.
Muslim guys are fine, by the way. You know what I mean? They are savable, by the way. Non-Christians are savable. I think even if I didn't get raptured, I could probably hang.
Well, that's the crazy thing. From my upbringing, according to the basic rules of evangelical thought, I'd be raptured. I said words in a place when I was too young to understand the implications of it, but that's it. That's the pass, and it's golden, and you get into the chocolate
You're saved,
factory.
bro. You've been saved, bro.
Yeah. So God, now we get to the one of the scenes, which is appropriate because we're actually running out of time to talk down this plot. Chloe breaks into a hospital, and this is a very important scene. She is, again, completely illogically looking for her younger brother that disappeared in her arms in front of her face. And she goes to a hospital. She breaks in. Everybody's in a panic. She's wandering around unobstructed by any sort of security or anything like that. And she finds herself in the maternity ward. And there is nothing but empty baby cradles, those little plastic beds that they have all of the babies in front of a window.
No, there's also a half-ass jump scare.
Well, so here's the thing. This is the scene that I think is very, very different for your casual observer versus your evangelical. Because did you guys catch the important part of that lady who comes out and talks to Chloe? The important part is that lady was pregnant and now has an empty womb.
Oh, yeah, that's grim.
So you guys didn't catch that.
I did not catch that at all.
The unborn baby was raptured from literally inside her. That's why she looks the way she does. That's why she's talking the way she does. That is 100% the implication in the film, which I found incredibly morbid. And then it occurred to me that any non-initiate Wouldn't get that at all from that scene.
I
So
did not get that from that scene. Did
so
not.
do so one must assume that every ovary and testicle was also raptured. Is that what we're meant to?
That's if you follow the science all the way down. Again, it comes down to the core of the pro-life movement. Life begins at conception specifically, and all babies are raptured.
It's
All
like
children.
all testicles and about 1/3 of penises because that is involved as well. It's like the whole thing is like
The whole delivery
The
system.
the
rapture
whole
is stored in the
delivery
balls.
He just lose he just lose 2 inches off your dick immediately.
The
women
rapture is
women
stored in the balls. I like that.
women who have never had children start peeing when they sneeze because it's like the whole thing like it is.
But yeah, that's the implication of that scene, and it's one of the darkest ones in the movie. And I just, when it hit me that most people weren't going to walk away from that, that's the biggest stance this film takes on abortion, and it's coded specifically to the intended audience, which is bleak.
At least
Um,
something is here for that audience, though. I feel like that audience probably felt a little starved for pandering in this one. Like it's
Well, the funny thing is, we get some more ham-fisted shit that's kind of tossing bones their way, because we're at the scene that Rich instructed. So Ray is
It's
getting
so
curious,
good. It's so good.
and he's starting to put his detective skills to work as to why certain people disappeared and other ones didn't. He sends his potential affair partner to check the belongings of the stewardess that disappeared, and then he starts rifling through the shit from his co-pilot. And they could have done this in such a simple, normal fucking way, and they chose to go the complete opposite direction. So instead of finding a left behind necklace with a crucifix on it or something like that, he notices, after finding nothing identifying in the clothes, the guy's watch has fallen on like the throttle stick, which we saw earlier in the film. That's as far as they play around with foreshadowing. And he picks it up, and it's a watch with a customized face to have ingrained on the face of the watch John 3:16.
Oh, he's a Stone Cold fan.
I was gonna
say,
make that joke. God damn it, Ryan.
I thought it was going to be the gold chain. He pulls the gold chain.
That's what
I thought
I
it
was
was going to be like
talking-
a Saint Christopher medal or something. I thought it was going to be like a cross or something.
Well,
Yeah.
no. Because if you
Saints
have a
is
Saint,
Catholic.
Cross from
right?
what?
If you have a Saint Christopher necklace, it means you're Roman Catholic and you're damned to hell.
Saints is
Either way,
Catholic. They're not
but
going.
I mean, what about the fake saints, Bernadette or something? Like one of the, you know,
The gold cross would have gotten it, but by the way, I can tell you the iconography that they're using to identify evangelicals in this movie, and I can support this argument. Do you guys want to know what it is?
Yes.
I can guess. Can I guess?
Yes.
Consumerism.
Close. It's the Jesus fish.
Yeah. The ichthos symbol.
There is an abandoned car when Chloe is walking through neighborhoods that has a Jesus fish hanging from the rearview mirror. The necklace that she made for her mom that she discovers in the very next scene. She gets back to her home and nobody is there. She grabs a baseball bat. She thinks somebody might have broken in. The shower is running, and all that is remaining on the floor of the shower is jewelry. And when she goes up, we don't get a close up of the jewelry there, but she puts the necklace on when she climbs up the bridge, and it's a fucking Jesus fish necklace. So that is the evangelical calling sign in this movie,
Mm.
which
But
is,
Catholics put the Jesus fish on there.
it's
That's-
kind of, well, it's funny that you said consumerism. That's such a great bit, because the Jesus fish is probably their biggest selling piece of iconography. That
Yeah. It's a watch. It's a custom made watch. It's a Jesus fish gold necklace. It's a Jesus fish car decal. They don't give those for free. Those aren't, those are signifiers. You got to pay full price for those. It's a like that's a really good sort of bottled like a distillation of the ideology of this movie that is just like blink and you might miss it, because that's the message of the movie, is the I told you so shit of just kind of like, you weren't paying attention, well, you're not going to be raptured then. You don't know the side, you can't see the sides.
Yeah, and it shows how rarefied they're trying to get with it. They could have gone with a simple golden crucifix, but that's too fucking Catholic. That's really what it is. They can't just use the cross. The fucking Jesus fish sprang out of this newer movement and these offshoots of Christianity. It's more specific to them than the more general icons that you have access to through all of the Abrahamic religions.
Yeah, look, you can't have that many Italians in heaven.
Well, that's the thing.
Couldn't agree more.
That is the other thing, is they explicitly exclude Catholics from their view of dogma here. So the Jesus fish is it's a chef's kiss in a way that is completely unintentional on their part, but lays bare the core philosophy that they're running with. And it is a blink and you miss it moment. So at this point in the film, we cut back to the plane, and this is where the mother in first class, whose child was raptured, grabs the gun. And this is the continuity error I have an issue with. They do no scenes with her examining this guy's clothes, and it comes after a scene where it would have been perfect, because the Asian character in first class is suggesting possible options, and the Muslim character in first class plays off of it. He's like, what if they're just invisible? What if they're still here but just invisible? And we get a slapstick moment with Melvin like reaching into the seat where the air marshal was, and then sort of scoffing at himself for being like that. But she doesn't go anywhere near the seat, and she just pulls a gun on everybody, which is
like the gun just manifested.
Yes. It was there, they set it up, but they didn't land it properly. And her belief, which again, I would say is relatively logical for a non-Christian person to be like, I have a very rich husband, I'm trying to leave with his kid, you guys landed the plane while I was asleep, and he kidnapped my kid and he paid you guys all off.
And he left the clothes.
Yeah, which is, they don't bring that up in the film for good reason, because the argument kind of falls apart there. But I do love that everybody's like, that's fucking crazy. But Chad Michael Murray's dulcet tones and calm demeanor is what finally gets the gun out of her hand.
Real quick, and then she threatens to kill herself, not by putting the gun to her head, but by putting it not even to her heart, just on her chest plate.
Yeah, that's old.
It was like that. It was like that Seth Dillon gif, but not as funny. It was like, I think they knew that if she turned the gun from pointing it at everyone on the plane to pointing it to her head, that is an inherently funny move. That is a comedic beat. If you're like,
that works really well in an audio medium.
I'm sorry, but they know what I did.
No.
I think they got it.
Good fucking radio.
That's good radio.
They know what I did.
Yeah, no, which is extra funny, because I want to imagine the conversation in the writer's room is, we just did a funny bit with they're invisible. We can't do a funny bit where she sticks the gun to her head.
Oh my god, when the I can't remember his last name, Martin Kebbard's character or whatever it is, like starts poking the air where the guy's clothes are. This is a funny movie. It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
it is funny. They should have just
plays better as a
into
comedy than it does as proselytizing.
Yes. So
I want to recut this movie with a laugh track.
Like a fucking sitcom thing. Like, it's funny if you have people laughing in the background. It lets the audience know when to laugh.
Exactly.
It would be helpful.
So we get to the conclusion of Chloe's arc, where it collides with Ray's. So Chloe goes to a church where she finds the pastor has not been raptured. And like Ryan mentioned in our pre-recording, is like, our initial thought, and I think that our initial thought is because we were more closely associated with Catholicism in our upbringing, was, oh, this guy diddled people.
That's why he's still here.
That's why he didn't get raptured. But the movie is nice enough to clarify for us. He said it. He said the words, but he didn't believe them. And you gotta
So
believe.
that is an original situation from like the books, that the main pastor doesn't get raptured. And in the books and in the Kirk Cameron movies, he's a much bigger character. And I think he gets raptured at some point during the tribulations period. Like he is like a saved soul throughout the whole thing.
Mhm.
Oh, so that's part of the story, is like you can get raptured, you can get just late arrival, late acceptance.
I think he was a later. I don't think everybody was. You know, they don't fuck with the canon in the same way over. Yeah, it's that part I know to be like an original to the Left Behind tale.
Gotcha. And so before we cut back to Chloe, I got one final thing that's really funny, is when the stewardess, the affair stewardess, brings back the articles belonging to the stewardess that got raptured. In it is a day planner. And the thing that convinces Ray that it's the rapture that occurred was she had Bible study written in in her day planner.
He sees Bible study on Wednesday, and he is immediately like,
It's the rapture.
she's a real Christian, and this is the rapture.
Bible study on Wednesday, get raptured on Friday.
That's a full week, baby. So Chloe, after her conversation with the priest, runs off, and this is where we get the weirdest I'm gonna kill myself moment I've ever seen in a film. Chloe walks to a bridge. She climbs up the ladders up the suspension bridge, and is at the top right when Buck and Ray are now combining forces in the cockpit. And Buck gets through with a cell signal and gets her on the phone, and she talks to her dad, and she finds out that her dad is not dead. She thought he was dead because when she got home, one of his calls was right when they clipped another plane midair, because there was nobody flying that plane, because both of those pilots were apparently good Christians.
Which was a great green screen moment. Nic Cage and green screen do not mix. He's so bad at it.
So, because of that accident, Ray informs Chloe they're running out of fuel. They're trying to get back to JFK. It's not looking good. He finally gets back to the one fucking sinner that happened to be an air traffic controller, who told him everything's packed up. The runways are all full, but millions of people are missing. The rapture happened. Get up to speed. And so he relays all this to Chloe, and Chloe's like, no, I have a reason to live now, and that's to help my dirty, cheating father land this fucking plane.
Thinking about cheating, father.
Yeah.
Not even cheating. Just
Yeah,
the,
no, he
the
didn't even do
impure
it.
thoughts were enough.
You think they're gonna put cheating on your wife in a Christian movie?
No,
Not this
he
one.
hadn't cheated. I mean, as far as
He
it
had not.
seems, he hadn't done it yet. And she was going to kill herself because she thought he was dead. So I just want to be fair to her suicidal ideation. She thought
True.
her whole family was gone. Now, she doesn't live near them. She was out of town. She lives out of town, and she was only visiting. But she does plan to kill herself as soon as she believes they're all dead, without even confirming, really. And then,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, it's done. I don't know if they were trying to be subtle, but like, there's no preamble. She just goes to the bridge and starts climbing up it, and you're like, oh shit.
The message of the film is that you should kill yourself if you have nothing to live for. That is the message of the film. If you
If the
feel you have-
rapture
That's a very
happens
Christian method.
and you don't get taken, you don't want to live through the bad times.
take your own life. That's the advice of this movie.
It's the Matt Christman. It's kill yourself and everyone around you bit for the election night. So this is like the emotional climax of the film. A bunch of things happen at once. Chloe goes and finds an abandoned under construction highway. She's like, this is where dad can land the plane. And she starts going about, she steals a raptured guy's motorcycle and then a raptured guy's truck and starts. What's funny to me is she's like, I'm clearing the roadway, and she's just driving over like cones and stuff that would not impede
Yeah. That's not gonna stop a plane.
a fucking
Yeah.
plane, a porta
The fucking
potty.
pickup truck wouldn't have stopped the plane. It was going like 500 miles an hour.
We also get very limited come to Jesus moments from our first class passengers. The businessman talks to heroin lady because she's the daughter of a business dude he knew who cared more about his kids than business guy does. And he's like, I hope my daughter got raptured. But that's it. Like nobody else really gets a redemption arc in first class. Just
Yeah.
the business guy came around.
This film took 2.5 hours of your time and believed it deserved more.
Yes. And so Chloe is clearing this space. It might not be enough, but Ray doesn't want to tell her because if they all die, he doesn't want her to think it's her fault, which is a solid play. That's fair logical writing. I'll give him that one. But he does also tell her that he needs something, some sort of signal at the start of the runway. And so what Chloe does is in this under construction stretch of highway, there are several drums filled with fuel, like metal drums filled with fuel.
More
like-
gasoline.
It's
in
like
this
red barrels
runway.
in fucking video games.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's at a Team Fortress 2 map and she just needs to light it up.
And we get a beautiful movie trope where she does the line of gasoline to all of the explodable barrels and drops a lighter into it. There's a very funny scene where she finds cigarettes in the cab of the truck. And she's like, how are you going to smoke but not have matches? And then she finds, of course, Zippo, right? Because you have to have that, ignite the metal Zippo and then drop it in the line of gasoline.
It's the waste of Zippo scene that happens
Yeah,
in every movie.
Which always bothered me. Like, why would you do that? That's the most expensive way.
Just like a $40 lighter.
I know. And when you've worked it like long enough to get that perfect action on the hinge, that's more than a waste. That's criminal. And so with the fire lit, Ray is able to bring down the plane safely without it crashing. And then they do I do like that they kept in like the inflatable slide that you go down. And for whatever reason, I think it's them still needling the Muslim guy character because he pushes the dwarfism
He like
character.
kicks him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
For
kicks him
in his
down the
very
little
small ass.
in the inflatable slide. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
and
cool
the
at all.
little dude face plants straight down there.
And so Chloe and Buck embrace, and then Ray and Chloe embrace. After Ray tells Hattie, that's the name of the stewardess he was going to have an affair with, that she did a really good job. But
Here's your new
At
mom.
blowing up that construction site.
yeah. So Chloe, they all look over a city that is burning, is like, this looks like the end of the world, and Chloe goes, no, it's just the beginning of the end of the world. And gospel music starts to swell as we fade to credits, but not before Mark 13 verse 32. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, flashes on the screen, and the credits roll. And then
the song plays that tells you that you should have known.
you
this is
should
going
have
to happen.
known.
I turned this movie off immediately.
Oh, you didn't wait for the after credit scene?
Yeah, you missed it, Rich, because
There's
Oh,
an
then
after credit
shit.
scene. I didn't know that either.
we get a mid-credit scene where Nic Cage walks into a diner up to a guy at a counter and
No
says,
fucking way.
I'm assembling a force, a tribulation force.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He's kidding.
But could you fucking imagine?
Yeah, I can. I was just picturing
He just
it.
did.
By the way, the sequel is called Tribulation Force.
Well, the sequel to the
Because-
Kirk Cameron one. I think the sequel to this one is Rise of the Antichrist.
Oh, whatever. It's one of the titles
Because
of the books. is the
I can
Tribulation
see
Force.
them trying to do an MCU thing with this 100%.
But it's like if you're gonna call the second one Rise of the Antichrist, it's like, why didn't I hear shit about that guy in the first movie? I don't know anything about this Antichrist character.
They laid
It's not
no
good.
tracks.
It's not good movie making. It's an
Yeah.
absurd film.
The production company was like, look, we'll do this. The part of the script where you have Obama being the Antichrist, we can't put this out.
Would have done numbers at churches.
It clearly already did numbers at church.
Wait,
True,
so is there
true.
actually a post-credit fucking
No,
scene?
I'm fucking with you, man.
No.
Okay, thank God. Thank God.
Okay, so when I podcasted about the movie Lady Ballers, this happened because I was the only one who watched the credits, and everybody else in the show was like, "Are you fucking around that there's a Jordan Peterson conversion therapy post-credit scene?" And I'm
Oh
like,
my
"No, I am not
God.
fucking around. That is what happens in the credits of Lady Ballers."
Holy shit. I've never
I-
seen that movie, but now I'm kind of interested.
Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
Okay,
Don't
I'm not
watch
gonna watch it.
It's bad. It's bad.
I've avoided that. I saw like I feel like if I ever get the awful itch to find it, enough people have made content of it that I can consume it safely secondhand. Like
Wait, but
I have a
secondhand smoke.
I have a Plex server. I'll give you access if you really want to watch Lady Ballers.
But we do need to watch the Joe Biden movie.
Which one?
Wait,
The-
which one is that?
The one with the
My Son Hunter?
canceled. Yes.
Oh no, I
The-
thought you meant the Beekeeper, that Jason Statham movie that just came out that has a very vaguely veiled Hunter Biden as the villain.
No. I'm talking about my son Hunter with fucking Gino, whatever the fuck her name is.
Okay, so I have not seen that movie, but I've watched YouTube videos talk about it. Apparently, like 60% of the movie takes place inside of a limousine, like on the way to just like a gala. Like the whole thing is mostly a conversation cut with like
So it's right wing My Dinner with Andre.
no, it's right wing. No, it's right wing. Big Short. So it cuts back to like a bunch of other like bullshit, and it's like there are scenes where it's like Hunter didn't really meet with the Ukrainians on the same day that this happened, but kind of suspicious. No, it's like that's like what it is.
Well, we made it. We
did.
made it through Left Behind. Because we were all left behind and we had nothing to do but cover this film.
The rapture happened like 2 days ago, so
Yeah. So
no one I
Yeah,
knew.
I've been
says
raptured all
go.
the way up to the waist by now.
Is that painful?
Yeah, I can't feel my feet.
We will be back with another film just due to us changing up our schedule for this. I'm not going to tell you what that film is. Just tune into the next episode. You'll see what we're covering. In the meantime, you can find us on X for the time being at cagefight_pod. We have a Patreon. Rich, do your thing.
Patreon.com/Nic Cage Fight. $1 a month gets you every single episode without ads. More money gets you more things. $5 a month gets you additional content. $10 a month gets you immediate access to our episodes uncut. Maybe we'll dox ourselves like we did this
Like
time.
we do every
apparently.
third episode.
And you can just know who we are and what we do and where we live.
And
Yeah,
higher tiers.
come to Fitchtown on March 20th. I'll be there at Starbolt hosting a 2000s trivia night.
I'm gonna be there and I'm
Oh, yeah,
gonna
dude.
lose.
It's gonna be great. I'll send you the questions beforehand. It'll be easy.
Oh.
Yes.
Little inside baseball.
Yeah.
Higher tiers just inflict psychological damage on your hosts. There's some fun ones like Ryan learning how to speed run and break the record on all the GeForce games. I'm thinking about doing all of those subscriptions myself just to see it.
I mean, if we get to a certain Patreon subscriber threshold, I will learn to speedrun the Left Behind games.
They have those. They're
Oh,
I
like
know
yeah.
they do.
FPS
There are
games
two of them. They're real-time strategy games. And they suck.
I'm gonna have to pull in our tech wizards on that, because as far as I found, because I looked into purchasing them, it's physical like CD-ROM installed discs.
Oh, I can find a copy in the next 20 minutes if we really need it.
I
I
we have
guarantee.
that'll be how we launch our Twitch channel, with the fucking Left Behind video games. They made at least 2 that I'm aware of. And so yeah. Thank you to our guest. Many thanks for helping us wander through this. Whack, you plugged Trivia Night. Do you want to tell the
Yeah,
viewers
just my
about
YouTube channel.
There you go.
The Julius Ebola thing's coming out soon. I think it's youtube.com/Whack Nicholson, WHACKNICHOLSON.
There you go. Beautiful. Thank you all for tuning in. And as always, dear listeners, please remember that we appreciate you.
Oh no, I'm being raptured the rest of the way. Bye-bye.